Welcome to the very last day of videos. We are about to get started. Alright, so 1 through 4 discuss solving, which is similar to simplifying. You still have to find a common denominator, and our rule for common denominator is you have to factor the denominators first in order to be able to see the common denominator. Okay, so because x squared minus 4 factors to x plus 2x minus 2, and this right here, if I factor in number 2, I'm going to get 3 times 4 is 12. The only way they'll add to negative 7 is if they're both negative. So I'm going to get x minus 3, x minus 4. Okay, so now we've got factored denominators. You want to include one of every type. So my common denominator in this one is x plus 2 and x minus 2, because we want to incorporate both. So here I have x plus 2, x minus 2. You're going to multiply every fraction by the common denominator. And what you'll realize is that we're able to cancel out the fraction completely. So x minus 2 cancels here, and so really all we're doing is distributing with the one that was missing. So I don't really need the x minus 2. Here I don't need the x plus 2 because I already have it. And here I already have both of them, so on this side I'm just left with the 10. Alright, so when we bring down this left side, I'm going to distribute, making it 2x squared plus 4x. This is a positive here, so we're just really distributing a positive 1, which doesn't change anything, so we're going to bring down positive x and negative 2. And then like we said on the right side, they both canceled. Okay, so now we just want to combine our like terms here. We'll move this 10 over to the left by subtracting it so that we get a 0 on the right. So we're going to get 2x squared plus 5x minus 12 equals 0. We're going to try to factor it. And then we're going to make sure we check for extraneous solutions too. Remember, extraneous here, we just don't want the bottom to equal 0. Okay, so 12, we've got a couple factors. We've got 3 times 4, we have 6 times 2, and we have 12 times 1. I always try to start with the ones closest together, so maybe 3 and 4. I'm going to put 4 here, 3 here, making this 8x and 3x. And we need to subtract in order to come up with a 5 down here. So I'm going to subtract the 3 since the 5 is positive. And so my factors are 2x minus 3 and x plus 4. When I set each of them equal to 0, I'm going to finish solving. Add the 3, divide by 2, so that's a positive 3. Divide by 2. I'm going to subtract 4 here, making it negative 4 on the other side. Alright, so we got to make sure that these work. If I put in a negative 4, I get negative 6. Negative 4 here would give me a negative 2. And a negative 4 here squared would be a positive 16. So I'd get a 12 in the bottom here. So this one works. 3 over 2 will also work. Remember, as long as the bottom doesn't equal 0. So we're going to say that both of these work. Okay, so again, we want to include both of these in our common denominator. So x minus 4, x minus 3. And then again, you'll realize the ones that we already have in that fraction are just going to cancel. So here they both cancel. And so I'm just going to bring down this negative 2x when I bring everything down. Here, just the x minus 3 cancels, so we're really just using the one that was missing, and the 15 will distribute. Okay, here I have x minus 4 already, so I don't need it anymore. So we're just distributing x. We're going to get x squared minus 3x. We're distributing the x there. Bring down your equal sign. We're distributing the 15 on this side, so we get 15x. And if I multiply by 4, that's going to bring me to minus 60. And again, here we just need the negative 2x since they weren't missing either of the factors. We're not really multiplying by them. Alright, so we want to bring all the terms to one side again. If I combine these first before I move them, they'll be 13x. So I'm going to subtract 13x. The 60, eventually I'll add it over, but it doesn't have anything over here to combine with. So here I'm getting x squared minus 16x. And then when I bring the 60 over, make sure you're adding it. If I add 60, I'm just going to kind of squeeze it in right here. It doesn't have anything to combine with. Alright, so we've got our quadratic. Again, we want to factor using either guess check or factor box. So we've got 6 and 10, 6x, 10x. We're going to want to make them both negative. So x minus 10, x minus 6, and our final answers will just be the positives. We'll have to add the 10 and add the 6. So again, make sure you're checking. If I sub them in here, I'll get a positive 2. Sub in here, get a positive 1. So in this case, both work. Alright, number 3. Number 3, the 4 is already included in the 8, so we're actually going to just multiply by 8x for our common denominator. And then we're going to simplify, so here the 4 makes the 8 into a 2. So it's really 3 times 2x, which is 6x. Here the x's just go away. There's a negative here on the 2, so we're going to say minus 16x. Bring down your equal sign. Here the 8's cancel, so this is just 5x squared. This one's going to go a little bit quicker. When I combine here, I'm going to get negative 10x. I still want to bring them both to one side, and you want to keep the quadratic term positive. The 10x won't combine with it, it's just going to go after the 5x squared. So this one's a GCF factoring. You want to divide out the 5x. So 5x will go out front. The 5's cancel here, so I'm going to be left with x plus 2. And when I set each of them equal to 0, I'm going to move up here for a little bit more room. Subtract the 2. Here I'm going to get 0. So in this case, if you sub in 0 here, that would give you an undefined. So we want to make sure that we reject the 0. The negative 2 is okay though. So my final answer here is just negative 2. The same idea here. This one's actually very similar to number 3. The 3 is already inside of the 15, so my common denominator is just 15x. And again, you're multiplying all fractions by that entire common denominator. We're going to get rid of the ones that we already have, so we really don't need the 15 here. The 3 in this one is going to turn the 15 into a 5, and here we don't need the x. So left over here I have x squared. Now there's 2 x's, so don't forget it's going to become x squared, and the 2 and the 5 will make negative 10 x squared. On the right side, negative 3 and 15, we're going to get negative 45. Oh. Alright, we're going to combine here, negative 9 x squared equals negative 45. Now this time we don't have our linear term, so we just want to get x squared alone. Divide by negative 9. And take the square root. Just don't forget we're going to get 2 things, plus and minus the square root of 5. And if you sub that back in, again, it's going to sub in, it's just going to be a square root of 5 down here. So as long as it's not 0, we're okay.